All right, let's move on away from that spotlight. That was our new segment, but we'll move on to just some waiver wire ads. Now, first of all, we'll go through these pretty quickly because they sort of speak for themselves. But players who are owned in under 70% of leagues that we believe are must roster players. Every league, 10, even 8 teams should probably have these players. They are probably top 100 players for the rest of the season. I'll go through them. Thaddeus Young, Delon Wright, Derrick White, Donte Diventenzo, Niccolas Batuum, Gary Trent Jr., Justin Holiday, and I do have Cole Anthony there, although he did injure his shoulder in today's game. So just wait and see what that injury is like, whether it's a long-term thing or if it's just a game or two. But if it's just a game or two, you should definitely still have him in your league because I think he is going to be a top 100 player for the rest of the season. Is there anyone that you would like to add to that list or throw in there? I think you had a couple other names.
You had a couple of names. I had Mason Plumlee as well.
Yep.
It is under 70% owned and should be owned in any kind of 10 category league, really.
Yep.
Anyway, and then also Jeremy Lamb. He's
Yep.
back in injury now, and he's been looking really good with Oladipo out, with Karis LeVert out. He is getting minutes, and LeVert's still going to be out for a month, so he will maintain that. And he's shooting efficiently. He gets the sneaky defensive stats, kind of like the 1-on-1,
Yep.
which can be good on the week-to-week basis.
Elite percentages as well, low turnovers. So a good roto player, especially. And if you care about those stats in head to head, yeah, he's definitely someone that I would own. Some of these guys maybe have some short term value. I'm looking at a player like Justin Holiday, Gary Trent Jr. to a certain extent, and Thaddeus Young. Thaddeus Young has actually been just tearing it up since Wendell Carter Jr. went down, and now Lowry's out as well. Otto Porter seems to be out. So there's a few injuries over at Chicago. So if he is on your wire, definitely pick him up. But just know that maybe when those players come back, he may regress and you might need to look at somewhere else. But most of the other guys, Derrick White is a bit of a player that I want to highlight as well. He has had some rough games, but I'm very, very bullish on Derrick White. We saw what he could do in the bubble, and he put up some great stacks alongside Murray. They played together, and that looks to be what they want to do. He is resting back-to-backs for now, but I think that will go away in the not too distant future. But he's a guard that can get you a block a game, get you a few threes, get you assists, give you decent percentages. I know he's had a few rough shooting nights, but he's just getting into it. And I think you should persist with Derrick White and keep him on your roster. And if he is available, if anyone drops him, I know I have him on our roster, but if one of you guys was to drop him, I would be scooping him up straight away because I think he is a decent contributor. Anyone from that list that you wanted to highlight, especially?
I like to touch on Thad Young again. He's been killing it, man. I'm super jealous I didn't pick him up. He in the past 2 weeks and the past 14 days, he's putting up 28 minutes a game, shooting about 60% from the field, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals a game. Like there's some big categories there.
He's a top 50 player in that time.
Yeah. 44 ranked is what I've got in front of me for Yahoo.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Justin Holiday as well. I actually had him on my team and I got rid of him, which is kind of stupid in the scheme of things. But he's obviously going to maintain minutes till LeVert gets back and he's going to be elite in threes. He'll be elite in turnovers and he's going to get you a pretty good steal rate as well. So he's a lot of assisting there. I mean, Josh Jackson, he's kind of like a game to game guy who I've been keeping my eye on, who you mentioned as well. He, I don't know. He had like 28-8 game just a couple of days ago. He's one of those guys. I don't really understand it, but when he gets minutes, sometimes he actually is looking really good. And that Detroit team's really weird. So he's definitely worth an ad if he could somehow boost himself to like a starting role. Has it been starting games? He's putting up 26 minutes a game.
He was out for a little while. Obviously, he had some issues with injuries and COVID and things like that. But I think he is coming back. Look, I haven't listed him in our must roster because I think there is some scenarios that you could do without him. Obviously, he's a bit sporadic compared to those other names that we named. But if we move on to our next segment, which is our sort of ads. So these players are all under 50% owned. And obviously, Josh Jackson does fall into that category. I'll read out some other names that sort of accompany him there. Darius Bazely is one of my guys. Patrick Williams from the Chicago Bulls. Josh Jackson, who we mentioned. Cody Zeller. Jakob Poeltl and Kendrick Nunn, both of those two are probably short-term ads based on some injuries. But to go back to Josh Jackson there, I think, yeah, I'll double check the fact. I'm not sure if he started, but he's playing big minutes regardless. I think he has been starting actually. And look, their team is a mess. I think that they're definitely going to eventually go more to a youth movement. And I know Josh Jackson's been disappointing in the past, but it's worth them giving him another crack and sort of proving that he could be on a roster in an NBA team. So he came off the bench today. So yeah, he hasn't come off the bench, but played 28 and a half minutes. So basically started minutes. But yeah, the only issue with him is sometimes percentages, high turnovers, assists and defensive stats have been lacking in the past, although this year it's looking a bit better. He's averaging a steal and a block so far, which is surprising. But yeah, just those percentages and lack of assists, lack of rebounds, high turnovers. So there are deficiencies in his game that if it doesn't suit your team, you don't have to roster him, basically. So that's why he wasn't in our must roster section. Any other comments on some of those other guys that we mentioned in the ads?
Yeah, I had a sneaky ad for Lou Williams has dropped to 49%. So if he's in your league, you should go out there, pick him up. He in the past week he kind of has really stepped it up. He had 23, 5 and 5 in his last game, and I think it is kind of the way up for him. He just had a slow start. You tend to see that sometimes with some players, but he's always been reliable. He's coming off the bench. He's going to score. There's that bench. I mean, Lou Williams really is. He always has been. He can put up 18 points. He helps you in points. He'll give you some threes, and he'll give he's averaging 4 assists for the season, which is pretty helpful as well. So he's a good guy to have. If someone's dropped him, pick him up.
Yeah, especially with Paul George still sidelined. It looks like apparently he hasn't traveled with the Clippers for their 2-game road trip. So it looks like he might miss those next 2 games. So especially while he's injured, he's definitely a good ad there and will provide some good scoring. Had a slow start to the season, but looks like he's getting it going now. Also an excellent guy getting to the free throw line. So if you need some free throw percentage, he's a good guy to sort of add in there. Probably when Paul George comes back though, his value might take a hit. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it could be a short-term thing.
Yeah, it could be a short-term thing. I want to highlight one of my guys who I'm really quite bullish on, and that's Darius Bazely. Now he has been somewhat frustrating to own this year, but he is putting it on recently. He on the season on Yahoo, basically he's ranked 231, but I think that's a bit misleading because he's got some poor percentages next to his name, shooting 40%, under 40% for the season. But if we reduce that down to the last couple of weeks, he's come up in terms of his points are up at 15 points a game, 8.5 rebounds. He's shooting some threes. His free throw percentage is solid, and he has the ability to get steals and blocks. So I think, especially with a young Thunder roster, he is someone who you can grab now and potentially hold for the rest of the season. He's available in a lot of leagues, so under 50% owned, and someone who, if was available on our waiver wire, especially if you're punting free throw percentage, field goal percentage, that is, I would definitely scoop him up straight away. What do you think about Darius? I know I'm probably a bit higher than most. Do you sort of share my enthusiasm, or are you a bit more skeptical?
I'm probably a little bit more skeptical. If you're punting, if you don't care about field goal, he's a good ad because I mean that 15 and 8 is always pretty valuable. But yeah, like shooting under 40% from the field does hurt you because he's shooting a high volume of about 13 attempts a game. So if you can deal with that and cope with that, then he definitely is worth picking up.
I feel like he's gonna do better than that though. I mean, he's a big guy. Like he gets to the rim, and I have to think that he's gonna do better. Like that's a pretty shocking number. There's not many players getting huge volume that are shooting under 40%. So I do think that will improve. And when it does improve, I think that will seriously see his numbers increase. If he's averaging 15 points and shooting under 40%, if he shoots 45%, he could be up at 20 points a game or close to it. So you could see that flip in value happen really, really quickly. So I would definitely be scooping him up because on that Thunder, he's just going to get so much opportunity on that team. Anyone else you wanted to highlight? Some of those short-term guys, Poeltl or Nunn? What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, Kendrick Nunn, I wanted to touch on. He, I mean, he's good in points. He can get you the assists. It's kind of one of those guys who, when he gets the minutes, he is playing. And recently over the past month, he's been put up about 30 minutes a game. So he is valuable. Over the past 2 weeks, he's been averaging 34 minutes a game. So he is a good player. He just like at a game log, he had a 28-point game, 22-point game, 25-point game about a week ago. He's one of those guys who can help you on a week to week. And when you know he's going to play, and he's playing right now, you have to pick him up. He's worth owning.
I think that's the key there. Like when you know he's going to play, he's going to put up the stats. But the thing is, whenever Goran Dragic comes back to lineup, and right now he's out with an ankle sprain, this guy goes from playing over 30 minutes a night to literally DNP CD. It's really, really strange. I don't know why Spo like just doesn't play him at all. It's a really strange thing. Spo does that a fair bit actually, and it's frustrated me in the past as a fantasy owner. But while Goran Dragic is up, he's going to put up stats. He's going to get you points, going to get you threes. So it's definitely someone to have. But just be ready at any moment's notice. He could not play a game when Dragic is back. So be pretty quick to pull the trigger once Dragic is back if you want to get someone else in. So that's why we labeled him as a short term. One quick one I'll just touch on very shortly. Patrick Williams, I think, is another long-term ad that could potentially stick in your side for the season. Like I said before, the Bulls are very injured right now. Otto Porter has he's out indefinitely. We don't know what's going on here. It sounds pretty ominous. And so Patrick Williams is going to get more of that usage, more of the minutes on that team. As a rookie, usually you see them get better as the season goes on. Usually post All-Star break, you start to see those rookies start to really start to play a bit better. And he's a rookie. He's already shooting a good percentage. So if he gets more usage, his stats will definitely start to increase. So someone who I think is worth rostering and at least speculatively seeing how it goes, especially while they're a bit injured right now. So do you like that one, Cal?
Yeah, I love Patrick Williams. The more I watch him, the more he reminds me of Kawhi Leonard. He's just like a very young dude. Has a really good mid-range game, bit of a fader. He's cool to watch. He's worth adding. I can see his defensive numbers coming up a bit. I really hope they do. I mean, 0.7 steals and 0.3 blocks is pretty bad. And I feel like he can do better than that. So you'd like to think that does pick up. And then he's still putting up, 13 and 5. So he's not hurting you too much in terms of like one of those waiver wire ads.
Yeah, definitely. So I think he's someone to pick up, and I think he actually is with Pokusevski being sent to the G League bubble. I think Patrick Williams is the youngest player in the NBA right now. So there's a little bit of trivia for you.